today's coffee and consulting. I hope you all had now or took your coffee or tea with you, and you're now with us for the next about 30 to 45 minutes. Today we have our great partner Lior from Globalization Partners with us. Thank you, Lior, for joining.
Thank you.
And because of our today's topic is Brexit, impact on business for Switzerland and the UK. And you may have all also seen that it's just in recent days, it is almost impossible to actually keep track on all these regulations and changes and so on. And therefore, I'm happy that somebody is actually helping me with that topic today. So we will discuss in our coffee and consulting the UK way as well as the Swiss way, and see what actually is the impact then on our daily life and on business. Before we now start, on the right hand side you will see in a box where it's called Unterlagen, or a file that you can download the presentation while we have now the event. Or if you will not be able to do that, then we will send out later on the link for the presentation as well as the recording. In addition, also on the right hand side, you will find a box where you can actually write as any question you may have around that topic, which we are happy then also to answer while we have the presentation. So I assume you came with lots of questions, so just write them down. However, if you can't do it, if you don't have the time for it, no problem at all. We will answer that then after the presentation. So let us shortly introduce ourselves. You may know me already, as I was the host for the last couple of coffee and consultings. I'm Friederike Ruch, and I'm the managing partner of Convenus, and I will inform you about all the Swiss side, or the Swiss view on the Brexit matter. I have with me Lior, and thank you very much for joining us. And Lior is the director of Globalization Partners and will represent today, or will tell us, the UK view on the Brexit. Lior, welcome.
Thank you. My pleasure to be here.
That you know a bit more who Globalization Partners is and who Lior is. Maybe Lior, do you want to say a couple of words?
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Friederike, and hello, everybody. Thank you for joining us for this wonderful event. My name is Lior Ashkenazi. I'm based in the Netherlands, and in the past 24 years of my career, I've been working for mainly large system integrators, where in the past 12 years, I chose mainly to focus building partnerships and alliances. Within Globalization Partners, I'm responsible for strategic partnerships, mainly in the regions of Europe and the Middle East. So what is Globalization Partners? We are a company who provides a solution called Employer of Record. We actually allow you to hire anyone and anywhere very quickly and easily. We simplify international business. We enable organizations to expand very quickly into countries without needing to have a subsidiary. So basically, the customer is choosing the talent. We do not do the recruitment. And we put the team member that they choose on our compliant payroll. We take care really everything end to end. And in fact, all the complexities of global employment are taken out of the shoulders of the customer. That's it.
Absolutely perfect. And what I can tell you as well is we started our, how shall I put it, the formal informal partnership in the end, beginning of December now. So We're proud to have you on board.
Thank you.
So here's a bit about Globalization Partners as well as for you. And here's a bit about conveners. So when we started the discussion, Lior and I, to have that conversation about Brexit, we didn't at that time point, actually, there were no COVID restrictions, which just recently changed quite quickly. We had the slide actually done in the end twice, because just last week, end of last week on Friday, the situation changed again. And now from a Swiss perspective, there is no quarantine requirement any longer. But what needs to be done is that everyone who wants to travel to Switzerland has to be vaccinated, or even if they are vaccinated or recovered persons and children, they have to have a negative test for entering Switzerland. And then again, after the 4th or 7th day, or between the 4th and the 7th day, you need to have again a test. So that is the current Swiss regulation. Lior, can you tell us what the UK regulation is?
Yes, certainly. There are a couple of things you should take into account before you travel to the UK during this period. The first thing would be 48 hours before you arrive to England, you should complete a passenger locator form. In addition, you need to book a COVID-19 PCR test, which you should take before you arrive to England. This indeed has changed just today, right? If your test is negative, you can go out of quarantine, but if your test is positive, you must be isolated for at least for 10 days exactly. And you start actually counting from the day of the test, it would be day 0. And if you need more information, you can always find it on the website gov.uk. Back to you.
Okay, perfect. Thank you very much. So it's a bit easier, I would say, on the Swiss side. Now, the real part where we thought we would like to discuss the situation with you is really about the Brexit, real Brexit implications in the end. Now, from a Swiss point of view, what are the main implications? I would say the main part is really the UK nationals are not longer kind of completely viewed as EU EFTA nationals, because we still have a couple of regulations which are in between. But they are also, most of the rules now really follow third country nationals or non-EU EFTA nationals. So that is a bit tricky in the end. From a Swiss side, it's mainly really about immigration and social security. Now, Lior, can you tell us what the British way is, or the?
Yes, certainly. So actually, what we can say is that Britain's relationship with the rest of Europe has certainly opened a new chapter. This is the chapter that could reshape not only the country's economy, foreign policy, politics, and even borders. The government of Britain actually aims to create a more global Britain. They want to have stronger ties with the United States and with other democracies. Think about Australia, India, and South Korea, for example. However, according to a survey that was conducted by the British Foreign Policy Group, only less than a quarter, so only 24% of the Britons believe that this deal that the UK government secured is the best framework for their relationship moving forward. Wow. Actually, the majority of the Britons are not satisfied with the post-Brexit trade argument. And in addition, majority of the respondents of the survey said that they actually viewed the European Union as a more important international partner for the UK than the US. this is mainly, those are mainly the implications that the employers are still struggling to understand how does the new immigration system look like. There's still work over there to get used to.
Absolutely. Here in Switzerland as well. The new rules are basically really in regard, I mean, at least for our part, for global mobility, it's more about really, as said already, immigration or social security. We just had the agreement of a new social security treaty, so that is perfect, so that we definitely have now something in place. And in regard to immigration, they now follow the foreigner immigration law and not any longer the agreement of free movement. Now, what are the new rules in the UK, Lior?
Well, from January 1st, 2021, this is the moment then we marked the movement, or actually the end of the movement from people, goods and services, anything between the UK and the EU. So following Brexit means that EU citizens that want legally to live and work in the UK have to apply to the EU settlement scheme, and they had to do this by June 30th, 2021. According to official numbers from the UK government, there were around 6 million people that applied for this settlement scheme. Yeah. And from the 31st of October 2020, there were about 5.9 million applications that were processed. Now that sounds a lot, but that actually is a backlog of 380,000 applications. So yeah, that's a lot. So basically from July this year, people that want to move from EU need to have settled a status or a pre-settled status via an online portal that they can rent, work, or claim benefits in the UK. Another important thing to know in regards to the rules is that the UK has now a new point-based immigration system. So after Brexit, they will start to impact people that work, people that live, people that travel to the UK, and between the UK, obviously, and the EU. In order to qualify to a worker visa, employees that want to move to the UK have to score at least 70 points. So it's a system that you would collect for everything. You would have points granted, and in total you will need a minimum of 70 points. According to the UK government, the need to bring a new immigration system was very necessary. As according to the UK government, it was distorted before that by the European movement back and forward. At this moment, UK employers that want to recruit migrants, workers, have to understand very thoroughly the new migration regime, and in particular, how the changes will affect the recruitment and the employment in the EU nationals.
Absolutely true. I mean, for us, or from a Swiss perspective, it's just one crew or one nationality where we actually have a change. For the UK, the impact is much bigger because there are much more countries involved.
Yes.
Would we just see what companies here in Switzerland are seeing if they hire, or if they, before they rather hire the British national instead of maybe an American, if it's just about the language skills and so on, as the British one was, you got quicker the immigration done as for an American. Now the competition is, I would say, back again, and there's not really that then the British national is basically winning, because the immigration rules are the same. So we see that for the next couple of years, definitely immigration is a big issue. And social security, I mean, we have the rules as before, so there is not really a change any longer. What is from the UK side there? to look at?
A few things need to be considered indeed. So first of all, as an employer, starting July 1st, 2021, you would no longer be able to conduct or educate the right to work and check within the EEA citizens based on their passport or ID cards. You will need to check online that they have the correct immigration status under that scheme that they created and the right to work, and check with the proofs they have an alternative immigration status. That's very important. So following the introduction of the new immigration system, employers would need to carry out the right to work checks on all new recruits using a 3 stages process of obtaining, checking and copying relevant identity documents, recording the date, and the check was conducted. Another thing is that companies must bear in mind is that starting January 2021, they would need a license to employ workers from the EU, from Switzerland, from Norway, Liechtenstein, and Iceland. The UK government's BREXIT checker tool can help you to get personalized and get a lot of actions of both employees and employers. Last thing, I think, for this tool, it's a handy tool. It can help companies prepare for Brexit, particularly if they deal with personal data or employ EU nationals. So need to take, obviously, GDPR here in account. That's in a nutshell.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Now, what we also have done is to actually summarize the situation we see in practice to help you in the end, or help everybody in the end, to understand the regulations a bit better and what needs to be done. And we brought a couple of samples for this. We start with the first topic, remote working, which at least in Switzerland, was one of the hot topics this year. And we start with the sample, and I will explain the Swiss side. And then Lior is greatly doing then the UK part. So a Swiss company employs a British national starting 1st of January 2022, who works almost 99% remotely in the UK. The Swiss company has no legal entity in the UK. How can this be solved? Now, from a Swiss perspective, the employer is in Switzerland, so basically you can issue a Swiss employment contract. There's no problem at all. You just have to consider then the UK labor law and the mandatory regulations. Salary payment is sometimes an issue because of exchange rates changes. And from a tax point of view, we need to look at the Swiss working days, because those are then subject to Swiss income tax. Based on the new Social Security treaty we have, there is no Swiss Social Security basically on those Swiss work days, if we say he's only about 1% working out of Switzerland. And from a Swiss work permit perspective, it depends a bit on the canton, and that can be a bit of a challenge. So that's what we have to see from a Swiss perspective. Now, Lior, can you tell us what the UK side is?
Certainly. So, Frédéric, if a company, a Swiss company, employs a British national who wants to work remotely from the UK, and the company does not have an entity, there are indeed a few crucial things they need to take into account. And that can be an employment contract, that can be payroll, benefits, pension, insurance, and many more. Additionally, if the company is planning to hire a contractor, then it is extremely crucial to avoid misclassification. I can share after this session much more information if you want about contractor misclassification. Another important thing to take into account is that the UK has a national minimum wage. You will see it as in brackets, think about NMW, you would know that's national minimum wage. And they also have a national living wage, NLW, which also influences what you pay to the British employee. So the minimum Sorry?
No,
Okay.
everything good?
Okay. The minimum wage is different per age, and is the lowest for workers that are considered apprentice. The NLW, okay, which is the national living wage, is higher rate than the NM, the minimum wage rates. And this applies to workers which are above the 25-year-old, okay? Another crucial point to consider is pay as you earn, which is a system that the HM Revenue and Customs was set up for employers to divert a part of the employee's paycheck and paying national insurance and income tax. Yes, it's complicated. So yes. It can also include other deductions. It can also include a pension and other contributions. Essentially, it is up to the employers to deduct the correct amount from the employee's paycheck and to make sure they are aware of the appropriate insurance and tax contributions, but are linked to the person's earning, obviously. So understanding how the UK can be complex, and it can be complex, we can also help you within Globalization Partners if you want. We know the rules. We help companies to expand also to the UK and take this burden basically off of your shoulders.
Which is great and very, very helpful.
Thanks.
Then the next scenario where we see in practice is if there's a local employment, meaning now a British national takes up employment in Switzerland, in Zurich, and moves then as of 1st of January 2022 to Switzerland together with his family. Are there any hurdles from an immigration point of view based on Brexit? Before Brexit, it was an easy situation. People just had to basically get a Swiss employment contract. You would enroll them in the Swiss social security system. You would deduct the tax at source, and they basically just have to get registered, and then they would get the Swiss work permit, and everything would be good. Now, after Brexit, and as already indicated, they are now following the non-EU EFTA process. That means you do have to do that 3-month job search in order to get the work permit for a British citizen. As well as that, the British citizen has to be a specialist or a manager or a very highly qualified person in order to get a work permit at all. Now, what is not needed is, and still not required, is a visa. So we just need the work permit. However, you may also have seen already that the process in Switzerland takes about 3 months in order to get everything fully approved, also depending a bit on the different cantons. What you also need to see is that the integration law we have is also applicable, meaning the spouse will need to meet also the language condition. And what you also know is that the language conditions are different in Switzerland. So it depends on whether you move to Zurich or you move to Geneva or Ticino or somewhere else. So always look at in which canton you go and what is the language they speak. So based on Brexit, it is a bit harder, at least to get the work permit done. Now let's see what the other way around. If a Swiss person moves to the UK, then from a Swiss perspective, the individual just needs to get deregistered here in Switzerland. With that date of deregistration, the taxation ends as well as the social security ends. And what is now kind of a benefit out of the Brexit is that people can take out the pension fund capital, as the UK is not any longer an EU EFTA member state. Now, Lior, I will hand over to you to tell us what from the UK side needs to be done.
Yes, so from the UK perspective, we already mentioned before that there's a point-based immigration system for employees that are coming to work in the UK, right? So they would need to have some specific set of requirements. And for every requirement that they meet, they get points, in total 70 points. The main aim for introducing this is mainly because the UK government was to make sure that there are highly skilled people that are coming back and forth from the UK. Those changes that they made to the immigration system will also impact the employees that are traveling and are coming to live in the UK. So a few major immigration routes are skilled worker route, intra-company transfer route, and the graduate route. So there are three main. I'm repeating: the skilled worker route, the intra-company transfer route, and the graduate route. In addition, it's okay. In addition, the company would need to check if the entity that is hiring has a sponsorship license, or did they apply for one, which is a totally new process because of Brexit.
Sorry.
Okay.
Thank you. Now we go to the next scenario, the assignment. So if we have someone going from the UK to Switzerland, so the British national will be assigned from the UK employer to a Swiss legal entity for 2 years. So he will move with his family again as of 1st of January to Switzerland. Now, what is here to be looked at? From a Swiss work permit perspective, it's just, yes, we do have the quota system. So even, sorry, even if he is now assigned, there's still quota to be looked at. And the individual needs to have the same salary level as anybody else in Switzerland. The reimbursement of rent, food, and travel costs also needs to be considered. And if the assignment is only, for example, for 2 years, then the individual only gets an L permit. And based on the L permit, the spouse basically cannot start to work immediately. He or the spouse will have to request, or through the employer from the spouse, a new work permit has to be requested. The social security liability, that can remain in the UK without any problems, and an exemption can be done in Switzerland. In regard to taxation, the taxation is completely in Switzerland, and because of the assignment now here going for 2 years. Then let us look at the other side around. So if a Swiss person goes to the UK, from a Swiss perspective, if the Swiss national will be assigned from a Swiss employer to the British legal entity for 2 years, he will move again as of 1st of January 2022 with his family to the UK. So what do we have to look at? In Switzerland, it is he needs to do the deregistration in Switzerland, but can remain in the Swiss social security system, inclusive the health insurance. In regard to taxation, it is again the Swiss tax Swiss kicks in just on the Swiss working days. So Lior, can you help us out with the British part or the UK part?
Certainly. Also here, employees that are coming to the UK for work will need to meet a specific set of requirements. Any employee evaluating whether to relocate can be retained by their company using an employer of record. So this is a solution that can suit in this case. This applies for those who need to move to where they are legally and allowed to work outside the UK or return to their home in the UK from the EU country. If it's a non-EU company who want to enter the UK market, this solution also facilitates a rapid, compliant hiring without the need to set up any entity in your country. We also need to keep in mind that the UK labor law is pretty much complex, and I think everybody here managed to understand it, especially comparing also to the Swiss system. And it has a very strong worker protections. It requires great attention to detail and to understand a lot of the local best practices. So please, I urge you, be aware of the rules, of the requirements before you start a procedure like that, and don't hesitate to approach an employer of record to support you in that.
Thank you very much, Leo. Definitely, I think the most important point is definitely to always get the right answers to the questions and to make sure you know what you need to do.
Yeah.
And that exactly leads us as well to the next part of our Coffee on Consulting event, that we are able to answer all your questions. So we have already received a couple of questions, which we happily will answer. So in case you still want to write your question, then please go ahead. Otherwise, there's still the possibility to send us afterwards an email or call us directly, and then we will answer whatever your questions are. So the first question is, does the COVID travel restriction apply to everyone, including residents, Swiss nationals travel to the UK and back to Switzerland? If the question is about the requirements in Switzerland, then yes, it actually goes or applies to everyone. Lior, how about the UK?
Absolutely. Yes.
Same.
Absolutely.
The second question is, what about the new regulations for business travelers? I'm not quite sure which new regulation you are referring to, but if it's about the fact that for business travelers, we still have the possibility to use the notification process in Switzerland, then yes, that is the only thing I would say, which is a bit of in between, because it's a regulation based on the EU rules, and now still, or even though the UK has left the EU, it's still an applicable procedure. I'm not sure whether where you're referring to that. If that is not really new. It's just that it still is applicable.
From the UK side, everything we wrote over there, by the way, is applicable for a tourist, or if you go for business, it doesn't matter. This is what you need to do. I can witness it on myself. I had to travel 2 months ago, 1.5 months ago, and it was exactly the same.
Okay, perfect. Then the next question is, how does the UK control if the correct amount, e.g. taxes, has been deducted from the Swiss employer? Is it not in the responsibility of the employee? I don't know. Leo, can you answer that question?
Yeah, this is the, from the UK perspective, is the responsibility of the employer. So the employer has to make sure that he has the right deductions, that they put the tax deduction also on the level that is required. And as we mentioned, it's also attached to the age and the salary of the person. So, yeah.
I mean, here in Switzerland, it's a bit, I would say, similar. Here we just have still the possibility to run afterwards or file afterwards a tax return to then in the end amend whatever had been not correctly done before, but and still in principle the employer is responsible for everything.
Yeah. Yeah.
The next question we have received is, which pension fund capital can be taken out? Is it the first or second pillar? It is about the second pillar, the pension fund. The first one is still remaining in Switzerland, and there's no change to that. It's just that because of the UK having left the EU, it's that you can take out the second pillar again. Then the next question is, I'm a UK freelancer. I work through an LTD. Would I be able to use that LTD company to operate through assignment UK to Switzerland? From your question, I would guess that you only have a company in the UK, in Switzerland, or in the UK. I'm not sure really now. I would say it's in Switzerland. You have a company, so if you are living in the UK and you can assign yourself as a freelancer, if you're there as self-employed, registered, you could basically assign to the LTD company. I'm not quite sure how that
What's his
really...
nationality? What's his nationality?
UK, I would say the nationality is UK. I think we would need a bit of more details in order actually to really understand the situation and to provide you with the proper advice. You will get from us afterwards an email, and I would ask you a couple of more questions in order to get the right answer. The next question is, what happens with a UK person which already works for a few years in Switzerland, but again and again, a few days or weeks in the UK, home office? Until now, only the entry from 2020 was presented. Now in 21, it's the same scenario, which is used now next year as a sample, but 21 is for is also already the new regulations from BREXIT. So for us, there is no really change. The only thing in this year was that from 1st of January until end of October, it was a bit unsure how the Social Security situation would look like, because we needed that time to get the new Social Security treaty arranged for. But otherwise, I mean, if the individual had been already in Switzerland before Brexit, and therefore the regulation actually from the EU applies and not from the new regulations for UK nationals. I would say we answer now 2 more questions. One is, when I employees is moving to another country, does he need also a A1 certificate or a certificate of coverage? Depends a bit. From a Swiss point of view, it depends, because if he still is falling under the EU treatment because he had been here in Switzerland before the 1st of January 21, then the EU regulation applies, and therefore the A1 certificate. If we moved after the 1st of January 21, he is following the non-EU after regulations, and therefore the certificate of coverage will apply. So it depends a bit on in which or what kind of procedure has to be applied to, and when he entered Switzerland. The next question is, what if we have an UK employee since 2019, employment in the UK, whose economic employer is the Swiss entity? Do we need to consider something? Okay, Lior, go ahead.
That's exactly one of the slides we were talking about. So the Swiss employer needs to make sure that, first of all, the whole system, so to build the immigration system, the points that they need to score, and if that Swiss company does not have a legal entity in the UK, they cannot hire that person, and they will need to use an employer of record in this situation. So even though that person has been employed since before, he still needs to meet a set of requirements, and the company needs to find a solution because they cannot hire him under the Swiss entity.
Okay, perfect. The next question is, can a Swiss employee work from home in the UK? UK is the non-resident country, so the non-resident status there, for let's say 4 weeks from a friend's home performing the Swiss job. It depends on a couple of things. One is definitely about immigration, whether a work permit is required or not would need to be checked. And then from a social security point of view, we would, or you would request the certificate of coverage that he can remain in the Swiss system while he's working in the UK. And from a tax point of view, because he is less than 183 days in the UK, she or he will still remain then in the Swiss tax system. The only thing you also would need to look at is what actually the tasks are the lady or the employee is performing, in order to see whether there is a permanent establishment risk, even if it's only 4 weeks, because that is something maybe you need all to be aware that in all the other countries, that will the check up and review on those situations will increase in the next years. I hope that helps you for the answer. And then the last part to the question we had before about the freelancer, he wrote with a couple of additional remarks. I've heard that a UK resident citizen can work for a maximum of 3 months in Switzerland in a single year. Is this correct? If you mean that notification process, then yes, that is true. You can work as a freelancer or on an assignment or as a consultant and performing work here in Switzerland on that basis and do the notification process, which is a simpler and easy process. That is absolutely true. It changes as soon as there is a Swiss employer involved. These are actually all the questions we have so far, so we answered everything. So still, if you have one or the other question in addition, then just go ahead and send us them by email and we are happily answer them.
Certainly.
Thank you, Lior, for being here with us. And together, we actually wish you all a great Christmas. Hopefully a couple of not that stressful weeks ahead, and then a great start in a hopefully very, very good and healthy year with lots of success and everything you actually wish of.
Thank you. It was a pleasure to be here. Happy holidays, everybody.
We should do that again.
Sure.
And here for all of you, if you do want to reach out to our partner Lior, here are her contact details. So in case you want to get in touch with us, here are the details. So I thank you very much for your participation today and hope to see you well soon again at one of our events. Have a great day and evening. Bye.
Bye-bye.